SpaceX expands Starlink network with 22 new satellites from California. Successful Falcon 9 launch strengthens global internet access, advances space-based broadband technology. Vandenberg Space Force Base, California, February 22, 2025. SpaceX continues to dominate the space industry, successfully launching 22 new Starlink satellites into orbit on Saturday, February 22, 2025. The launch, which took place at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from Space Launch Complex 4E, SLC, 4E, at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, is part of SpaceX's ongoing effort to expand its Starlink Internet constellation, a revolutionary initiative aimed at providing high-speed internet coverage worldwide. The mission was executed using SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket, one of the most reliable and frequently used launch vehicles in the world. After liftoff, the rocket's first stage booster successfully returned to Earth, making a precision landing on the autonomous drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, stationed in the Pacific Ocean. This marked another milestone in SpaceX's push for reusable space technology, which significantly reduces the cost of spaceflight and makes frequent satellite deployments more sustainable. Starlink, a global internet revolution in the making. Bridging the digital divide. Starlink is an ambitious project developed by Elon Musk's SpaceX to address the growing need for fast, reliable, and affordable internet across the globe. While internet access has become a necessity in modern society, millions of people, particularly those in rural, remote, and underserved regions, still lack adequate broadband infrastructure. Traditional broadband services rely on fiber optic cables, cell towers, and geostationary satellites, which are expensive to deploy and maintain, especially in sparsely populated or geographically challenging areas. By contrast, Starlink's satellite-based internet system circumvents these challenges by using a constellation of low Earth orbit (LEO) satellites that communicate directly with user terminals on the ground. This approach eliminates the need for traditional ground-based infrastructure and enables global high-speed internet coverage. How Starlink works. The Starlink network consists of thousands of small satellites orbiting Earth at altitudes of approximately 340 miles, 550 kilometers. This is significantly lower than traditional geostationary satellites, which orbit at 22,000 miles, 35,000 kilometers, above the planet. The lower altitude provides several key advantages. Lower latency. Because Starlink satellites are much closer to Earth, they can transmit data with latency as low as 20 to 40 milliseconds, compared to 600 plus milliseconds for traditional satellite internet providers. Faster speeds. Starlink currently delivers download speeds ranging from 50 megabits per second to 250 megabits per second, with premium users seeing speeds of up to 1 gigabit per second. Future enhancements aim to push this even higher. Reliable coverage. Starlink provides seamless connectivity, even in areas where traditional broadband is unavailable or unreliable. The service is designed to be easy to set up. Customers simply install a Starlink user terminal, dish antenna, which automatically aligns itself with the satellite network, providing instant internet access. Expanding the constellation. What this launch means for Starlink. SpaceX has been launching Starlink satellites at an unprecedented rate, with near-weekly missions scheduled throughout 2025. This latest launch of 22 new satellites brings the total number of operational Starlink satellites to more than 6,000, reinforcing SpaceX's dominance in the satellite broadband sector. Each new batch of satellites improves the network's capabilities by enhancing coverage and reducing service gaps in existing markets, increasing bandwidth to accommodate more users without slowing down service speeds, strengthening network resilience, ensuring reliable connections even during peak usage periods or adverse weather conditions. SpaceX's goal is to eventually deploy over 12,000 satellites, with plans to expand the constellation to 42,000 satellites in the coming decades. The role of reusability. Falcon 9's contribution to cost-efficient spaceflight. Falcon 9, a workhorse for SpaceX. Saturday's launch was carried out by Falcon 9, a two-stage reusable rocket developed by SpaceX. The first stage booster used in this mission had already flown on multiple previous missions, showcasing the power of SpaceX's reusable rocket technology. Why reusability matters. Traditional rockets are single-use, meaning they are discarded after every launch, making spaceflight expensive and wasteful. SpaceX has revolutionized the industry by developing rockets that can be reused multiple times, dramatically cutting launch costs and increasing flight frequency. Here's how the Falcon 9 reusability process works. Launch: Falcon 9 lifts off, carrying the payload into orbit. Stage separation: the first stage separates while the second stage continues to deploy the satellites. Controlled descent: the first stage reorients itself and uses grid fins to steer back to Earth. Landing burn: the booster ignites its engines to slow down and land vertically on a drone ship. For this mission, the autonomous drone ship Of Course I Still Love You was stationed in the Pacific Ocean to recover the booster, marking another success in SpaceX's long-term goal of making space travel fully reusable. Starlink's global impact: who benefits? Expanding internet access to remote communities. One of the biggest beneficiaries of Starlink is rural and underserved communities. Traditional internet providers often neglect remote areas due to the high costs of installing fiber optic cables and cell towers. Starlink eliminates these challenges, allowing users in isolated villages, farms, and off-grid locations to access high-speed internet for the first time. Maritime and aviation industries. The aviation and shipping industries are rapidly adopting Starlink for seamless global connectivity. Commercial airlines, cargo ships, and cruise liners are equipping their fleets with Starlink, providing uninterrupted internet access even in the middle of the ocean or at cruising altitude. Military, emergency services, and disaster relief. Starlink has become a critical tool for governments, military forces, and humanitarian organizations. Disaster response: when natural disasters destroy communication networks, Starlink provides instant internet access to emergency teams and affected populations. Military operations: the U.S. military and allied forces use Starlink for secure, real-time battlefield communications. Humanitarian aid: Starlink has been deployed in war-torn areas, helping displaced people stay connected. What's next for Starlink and SpaceX? Upcoming upgrades. SpaceX is constantly improving Starlink's capabilities with next-generation satellites featuring laser inter-satellite links. ISL satellites will communicate directly with each other without needing ground stations, improving service in remote locations. Direct-to-cell service. SpaceX is working with telecom providers to offer Starlink-powered mobile phone service, allowing users to stay connected without a traditional network. Starship: the future of spaceflight. Beyond Starlink, SpaceX is developing Starship, a fully reusable rocket designed for deep space exploration. By late 2025, Starship could begin operational flights, setting the stage for future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Conclusion: a new era of global connectivity. The successful launch of 22 Starlink satellites on February 22, 2025, is another step towards SpaceX's vision of a connected world. With each launch, Starlink moves closer to eliminating internet dead zones, revolutionizing global communication, and paving the way for a new era in space-based broadband technology. As SpaceX continues its rapid expansion, the world watches in anticipation, knowing that the future of the internet is being built, one launch at a time.